In March of 2010, Hollywood witnessed something it had never seen before and hasn't seen since. On a Saturday night, Sandra Bullock stood on a stage to accept the Razzie Award for Worst Actress of the Year for her performance in All About Steve. 24 hours later, she stood on another stage, this time accepting the Academy Award for Best Actress for The Blind Side. One woman, two awards, the best and the worst in the same weekend. That paradox doesn't just tell you about Hollywood's fickle nature, it tells you everything about the woman who lived it, because Sandra Bullock's story isn't really about awards. It's not about box office numbers or red carpets or magazine covers. It's about a woman who lost her mother, survived public humiliation, adopted two children as a single parent, and lost the love of her life to a devastating disease, all while the world watched. This is the story Hollywood doesn't want you to know, the real Sandra Bullock. Sandra Annette Bullock was born on July 26, 1964 in Arlington, Virginia, but she didn't grow up in suburban America. Her mother, Helga, was a German opera singer. Her father, John, was a voice coach and an army employee. When Sandra was just a child, the family moved to Nuremberg, West Germany. For 12 years, she was raised in Germany, speaking German, surrounded by music and performance. She made her first stage appearance at age 5, singing in her mother's opera production. She studied ballet and vocal arts and sang in the children's choir at the Stars Theater, Nuremberg. But here's what most people don't know. Behind that idyllic picture of a musical childhood was a young girl who had to learn resilience early. At 12, her family moved back to the Washington, D.C. area. She attended Washington Lee High School, where she was a cheerleader and performed in theater productions. She enrolled at East Carolina University to study acting, but left just 3 credits shy of her bachelor's degree. 3 credits. In 1986, she moved to New York City to pursue acting. She supported herself as a bartender, cocktail waitress, and coat checker while auditioning for roles. She studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse Theater. She landed her first gig at 21 in an off-Broadway production of No Time Flat. Her early Hollywood jobs were mostly bit parts in TV and B movies, some of them so embarrassing she'd later cringe just thinking about them. At just 16 years old, she experienced harassment firsthand. She later reflected on how the victim was shamed, not the perpetrator. That mindset, she said, has finally begun to shift thanks to voices like hers. Later in her career, she would almost walk away entirely because of the sexism she faced. She had a brutal realization she was being treated differently because she was a woman. "I am being treated this way because I have a vagina," she said. Many would have quit. Sandra Bullock almost did, but she didn't. Her big break came in 1994 with the action thriller Speed. But here's what the history books won't tell you. Sandra Bullock wasn't the first choice. Halle Berry turned the role down. Anne Heche turned the role down. Even Ellen DeGeneres was considered before Bullock, who was then virtually unknown, was finally cast. Speed grossed over $283 million worldwide. It made Keanu Reeves a superstar and Sandra Bullock a household name, but the real story isn't the success. It's what Bullock did with the rejection that came before it. When doors closed, she didn't walk away. She got more competitive. What followed was a string of hits. While You Were Sleeping earned her a Golden Globe nomination. The Net, A Time to Kill, Hope Floats. She was America's sweetheart, the girl next door who could do comedy, drama, and action with equal charm. But even icons make mistakes. In 1997, she agreed to star in Speed 2 Cruise Control for an $11 million salary. The film was universally panned, and yet it didn't slow her down. She returned with Miss Congeniality, playing an undercover FBI agent entering a beauty pageant. The role earned her another Golden Globe nomination and an American Comedy Award. In 2004, she took on a supporting role in Paul Haggis's Crash, a film that would go on to win Best Picture. It was a reminder that beneath the comedic exterior was a dramatic actress of extraordinary depth. Then came 2009. The Proposal paired her with Ryan Reynolds and became a massive box office success, grossing over $317 million worldwide. It was the year that would change everything. Later, that same year, she starred in The Blind Side. The role was a gamble. She turned it down 3 times because she was uncomfortable portraying a devout Christian. But she took the role anyway, and it earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. The same year, she was named the world's highest paid actress. She was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. She was on top of the world, and then it all fell apart. In early 2010, while Bullock was promoting The Blind Side, tabloids published allegations that her husband of 5 years, Jesse James, had been carrying on a months-long affair. Two more women came forward with affair claims. Then a fourth, James, issued a public apology admitting fault. He called the fallout pain and embarrassment beyond comprehension. Sandra Bullock was photographed hiking alone without her wedding ring. She filed for divorce in April 2010, but here's the part of the story no one expected. At the same time she filed for divorce, she revealed that she had secretly adopted a son, Louis. She had begun the adoption process 4 years earlier. During the marriage itself, she kept it entirely private to protect the child. Katrina happened in New Orleans, she later said, and I knew just something told me that my child was there. She became a mother for the first time at the exact moment her marriage was ending. While the world gossiped about the scandal, Sandra Bullock was raising a son and refusing to let public humiliation define her motherhood. In 2015, she adopted a daughter, Lila, from the Louisiana foster care system. A single mother raising two adopted children, rebuilding her life while the tabloids tried to tear her down. And through it all, she gave back. In 2005, she adopted Warren Easton Charter High School in New Orleans, which had suffered $4 million in damage from Hurricane Katrina. She donated for renovations, scholarships, band uniforms, and a student health clinic. After 9/11, she donated $1 million to the Red Cross. After the 2004 tsunami, another $1 million. After Hurricane Katrina, another. After the Haiti earthquake, another. After Hurricane Harvey, another. No press tours, no strings attached, just action. She was presented with the first ever People's Choice Award for Favorite Humanitarian. Two things she joked when accepting the award. Regina, could you be in better shape? It's just all kinds of wrong. Even in her most serious moments, she found a way to make people smile. In 2013, she starred in Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity, playing an astronaut stranded alone in space. It was her highest-grossing live-action film, but the role that defined her next chapter wasn't on screen, it was off. After her divorce, Bullock found love again with photographer Bryan Randall. For 8 years, they built a life together quietly, privately, away from the Hollywood spotlight. She called him the love of my life. And then in August 2023, Bryan Randall passed away. He had been privately living with ALS for 3 years. Sandra Bullock stepped away from Hollywood. She spent her time healing, raising her children, and grieving in private. The world didn't see her pain. She didn't want them to. She had already proven she could survive public humiliation. She had proven she could build a career from nothing. She had proven she could give back without expecting anything in return. But losing the love of her life, that was different. That was the kind of pain that doesn't play well on a red carpet, the kind that doesn't make for a good interview, the kind you don't post about on social media. So she didn't. She focused on what mattered: her children, her family, her healing. Here's what Hollywood doesn't want you to know about Sandra Bullock. She wasn't born with a silver spoon. She wasn't handed success. She waited tables. She checked coats. She was rejected. She was harassed. She was humiliated. She wasn't the first choice for her breakout role. She was the last choice. She was called the worst actress in Hollywood on a Saturday and the best actress in Hollywood on a Sunday. She was publicly shamed by a cheating husband while secretly becoming a mother. She lost the love of her life to a devastating disease and grieved in silence. And through every single chapter, the triumphs and the tragedies, she kept giving. To schools, to disaster victims, to children, to anyone who needed help. I'm just grateful I can do it, she said. Today, Sandra Bullock is a mother of two, a philanthropist, and one of the most respected actresses of her generation. She continues to work on her own terms, choosing projects that matter to her, not projects that Hollywood tells her to take. She once said that resilience, unlike scandal, ages well. And that's the Sandra Bullock story Hollywood doesn't want you to know, not because it's a secret, but because it doesn't fit the narrative. Hollywood wants you to believe in overnight success, in perfect lives, in fairy tales that end with a golden statue. But Sandra Bullock's story is messier than that. It's harder, it's more human. It's the story of a woman who refused to be defined by her failures or her tragedies, who turned rejection into motivation, who turned pain into purpose, who turned private grief into public generosity. She didn't just survive Hollywood, she survived life. And that, more than any Oscar, more than any box office record, more than any tabloid headline, is the real story. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, resilience, unlike scandal, ages well.